Welcome to the left-hand path, my friend.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Right, my name is Marko Tervonen. I'm the guitar player of the Swedish death metal band The Crown.
Now, is death metal the way that you usually describe the music of the Crown?
I usually say it just to keep it simple, because I think we all know that within the sort of extreme metal, there's millions of sub-genres, and it becomes very ridiculous, in the end. Everybody's trying to sort of come up with their own genre, but I think in general we're a death metal band, but I think that people that know about us and has heard older albums, they know that we can be a bit all over the place, a bit of rock and roll, a bit of thrash, a bit of everything, heavy stuff as well. But yeah, let's keep it simple. Swedish death metal,
And what part of Sweden are you guys based in?
It's a small city called Trollhättan. It's about a 1-hour drive from Gothenburg, so it's more to the west coast.
And were you guys originally based in Gothenburg?
No, we were all originally from Trollhättan. Now Magnus lives in Gothenburg since, 15, 20 years. But 3 of us still live in Trollhättan.
So you guys have a new album out, but before we talk about that, let's give the listeners some backstory to The Crown. Swedish death metal, as you said, you guys came out during a very, very interesting, very exciting time for Swedish death metal. Can you paint a picture for me what the scene was like when you guys started?
Yeah, sure. It was really exciting, really interesting. We started playing 30 years ago, 1990. And we were all struck a lot by the sort of death metal explosion that was happening. A lot of that stuff from Stockholm, with Entomb, Dismember, Carnage, all of that bands. And also in Gothenburg, a lot of stuff happening with, At the Gates starting up, and even before At the Gates when they were called Grotesque, But at the same time, we also were very, very influenced and inspired by the American Florida scene. I mean, basically everything that was recorded in Morrison's studio, D-Side Death, Morbid Angel, all of those bands. So, but the scene when we started, it was really exciting because everything was new, and it felt like every album like Entombed released, it was something new, something fresh. Same with At the Gates and In Flames and Dark Tranquillity. A lot of things happening all the time, and then later on, it sort of started to gravitate more towards a bit of almost like a melodic black metal thing, with Dissection, Unanimated, a lot of those bands. And there was a very important record label in Sweden called No Fashion Records. They signed a lot of those melodic black metal bands. And yeah, it felt like, Sweden was basically on top of the game, We had the best death metal, best black metal, there was a lot of good stuff happening. So very exciting times.
Now, for you guys personally, what were your intentions? What were you guys hoping to accomplish when you formed Crown of Thorns?
I said this before, but this is actually the honest truth. My only goal was to do a demo tape, because I had a wish to be reviewed in my favorite underground fanzine magazine. That was the only dream I had, to make a demo tape, But it just rolled from there, And after the second demo, we started to talk about doing an album, so that became the new goal, so that kind of thing grows all the time. But yeah, original goal, just to make a fucking demo tape and send it to friends and magazines and underground stuff, send to the people that you've been in touch with. So yeah, it kind of grew from there.
So as you guys were developing your style, a lot of the bands on the West Coast started going into this very classic heavy metal influenced style with twin leads and a lot of melody and that kind of thing. But Crown of Thorns, especially that first album, was very intense, very blast beat driven. Were you guys aware of what was happening around you? And why did you decide to go in the direction that you chose?
Yeah, we were very aware of what was happening, but at the same time, I think that we have always existed in our own bubble. I mean, since we weren't a real West Coast band, and we were definitely not a Stockholm band, so we were always somewhere there in the middle, and we had never any intentions that we need to get more melodic to become a West Coast band. That was never our thing. But I think that what sort of separated us was that we were always in the beginning, we were 2 songwriters. It was me and Magnus. You could say that Magnus was more inspired by the sort of D-sides and Morbid Angels, and I was more inspired by maybe Edge of Sanity and those bands that were a bit more melodic. So I guess, if you listen to our very debut album, The Burning, it starts out with this pretty melodic song. I mean, it's just a simple 4-beat song, and the next song is basically like a D-side sounding death metal song, and the album ends with a song that called Forget the Light that flirts a lot with sort of black metal. So we have always been all over the place, in my opinion, and we have always managed to sort of, in the end, connect the dots and create an album out of it. And I think that's what sort of differs a bit from the rest, because it was very obvious that In Flames from very early on like had their sound. It's not like they had a melodic sound, a song, and the next one was a fucking brutal one. They kept into that sort of their thing, which is all good. I mean, same with Entombed. They found pretty quickly their sort of death metal and the death and roll thing. You know, they kept pretty safely in there. But we have always been a bit all over the place, and I think that's been a good and a bad thing in many ways.
In terms of your style and the way you guys have always experimented with a lot of different things or incorporated a lot of different things, a few albums after that, starting with Hell Is Here, you guys started using this kind of Motorhead, you know, old school metal, old school rock and roll kind of feeling. What led to that?
Yeah, that was for us. The whole Hell Is Here was very much a bit of a groundbreaking, because I believe that was the first time. I mean, the third album, you start to feel a bit confident, you know. So we really wanted to bring in all kinds of influences we were sort of inspired by, because I remember like very, very early on, we could listen to like when we were sort of get together and have a few beers. I mean, we switched albums between like Morbid Angel, and then he went over to Motley Crue, and you know, we were all over the place music wise. And that was the first time we sort of felt that fuck it, let's fucking bring in all the influences, because there are some good Motorhead and Motley Crue driven fucking punk riffs and stuff like that. So, and we mixed that up with a lot of, you know, blast beats and fast stuff, and it became a very unique album in many ways. And it felt like after Hell Is Here, I mean, if you compare like the first track and the last track and something there in the middle, it's very, very different feels. I mean, from Hell Is Here, we could have gone all over the place. I mean, we could have become a punk band. We could have become a death metal band, you know, strict death metal band. So that was a very good album for us, because after that, yeah, we went into the Death Race King, and there we sort of brought in, again, there's this sort of rock and roll stuff and thrash stuff and death stuff, but we sort of perfected it with Death Race King, in my opinion. But yeah, Hell Is Here was very important for our sort of development.
So as you're talking about not really fitting in with what was going on in either the West Coast scene or the Stockholm scene, were there bands that you felt an affinity for, or felt were your peers or were doing something a little bit similar to you?
I always felt that we were a bit outsiders. I've basically always, even today, feel that we are a bit of like an underdog band, you know? We have never been caught up in a sort of, I don't know, a sort of, I'm not sure what the right word is, maybe a trend or something. You know, when people start talking about a new way of Swedish death metal, I mean, it's always been very difficult to sort of put us in those sort of popular categories in many ways, because as I said, we are a bit all over the place music wise. So we weren't the poster boy for a melodic Swedish death metal band. We weren't the poster boys for a brutal death metal, Swedish band. So we were somewhere there in between, because in the end of the day, I think we're a bit stubborn as well. There's definitely a sense of that old, Metallica vibe to it, that we do our thing, and luckily there are people enjoying it, and if they don't enjoy it, there are thousands of other bands to follow, but we are a bit stubborn in that sense, that we do our thing.
So, speaking of doing your thing, on March 12th of 2021, you released your 10th album, which is called Royal Destroyer.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this album and how it came together.
Yeah, we started sort of working on it pretty quickly after the whole Cobra Speed Venom session, because that became a very good album and very successful album, and a lot of people sort of saw it as a basically like almost like a comeback album. It was a very strong album, and so we sort of continued with that mindset and just went into writing mode. There was already some songs done, and we just continued, and when the whole touring cycle was done, we just went into the rehearsal room and did the good old thing, just start to mess with the songs and play for hours and hours and try to improve everything. And in the end, we came up with I think we were up in like 12 songs when we said that, okay, let's stop here and let's focus on these songs and let's perfect them and do the best we can, and then pick 10 songs to the main album and let's use 2 songs as a bonus. So a similar mindset as with Cobra Speed Venom, and a similar mindset like we did back in the days, being together as a band and rehearsing and all that sort of band feel to it, because it felt so good with the Cobra Speed Venom, and because that was the album we had a very solid lineup, and we managed to do a good album. So we just continue with the sort of same vibe, and we were all in a good headspace because we got some fantastic reviews and feedback. I mean that sort of thing, it just adds energy, it makes you happy to write music, So that was the mindset, we came from a good place.
So you mentioned that in the early days, the songwriting was split between the 2 guitarists, yourself and Magnus. Magnus more influenced by the American death metal, yourself influenced by bands like Edge of Sanity. How has that changed? What would you say your songwriting process is like now compared to the old days?
I think it's still there. I can still feel that sort of. It's a pretty drastic thing to say that. Yeah, Magnus does the brutal stuff. I do the melodic. But it still makes a bit sense, What can I say? A more typical song for Magnus is like Ultra Faust and Let the Hammering Begin, and a typical song for me is like Beyond the Frail and maybe Glorious Hades. I'm the one that usually like to take the tempo down sometimes and do a bit slower stuff, and also like the ballad that we call the ballad We Drift On. That was a sort of my idea as well. So we still have that sort of separation in a way, but then again, it's not like I do my song and no one else have anything to say about it. We mess around a lot with other people's songs. I can add melodies to Magnus stuff, and Magnus has ideas to my songs, like let's rearrange that or whatever. So, but I can still feel it that Magnus is a bit more sort of brutal punkish style, and I'm the more sort of melodic maybe in a sense. But nowadays we have Robin. He wrote 2 songs to this album, and also 2 songs to Cobra Speed Venom. And also, it happens like once every 10th year, but Johan also wrote a song. He was responsible 50% for the opening track, Baptized in Violence. So everybody except Henrik wrote some music to this new one. So that's cool.
Now, at what point do you bring your songs to the band? Like, how finished are they when you submit a song to the band?
From my songs, they are pretty much done, at least for what I consider done. Then a lot of things can happen, because I can also play the drums. And recently I've asked my son, because he's a fucking good death metal singer, he helps me to demo songs. So I do pretty much complete recordings of my songs, and then I send it to the guys. And then, we get together and start messing with it, if there's something that needs to be changed. Magnus' songs are a bit more open. He basically writes more from the sort of guitar and bass oriented. He has the riffs and everything is done, but maybe not all the sort of drum beats and stuff like that. Maybe that is not really done, or maybe what tempo it should be. It's more about the riffs and that stuff. We work a bit more on Magnus' songs, so to say.
So I've read that Royal Destroyer is a sequel to Cobra Speed Venom. In what ways is Royal Destroyer a sequel to the previous album, as opposed to just a new Crown album?
I think it is in that sense that, as I said earlier, that we had so much same mindset and mentality how to approach the album. And also we used the same studio. We went into Studio Fredman again, and we also used the same cover artist, Christian Sloan Hall. And for us, musically, it's not 10 years in between the albums. So it's only like 3 years in between the albums. So in those 3 years, our sort of inspirations didn't drastically change, you know. So it's pretty much the same mindset on Cobra Speed Venom and this album, in my opinion. And I think, in a sense, they belong together. So now we're actually talking about maybe we need to do a trilogy. We need to sort of make the third album and bind it together, all these three or whatever. So, but yeah, it's maybe from an outside view, when they hear this, they say, oh, it's a new album. But for us, they feel that a bit, they belong together, you know.
So you spoke about having a similar mentality for this album that you did for the previous album. Can you describe a little bit more what that mentality was? What were your intentions with this album and the previous album?
Yeah, I must say, before Cobra Speed Venom, we did 2 albums that differed quite a lot from our sort of regular albums. First of all, we did a Doomsday King album. We had a different singer on it. Jonas Stålhammar was the singer. And then we did Death Is Not Dead. That was an album that became very, very special in many ways because we didn't have a solid lineup. I ended up doing the drums. I also produced it. I did the guitars. I mean, there's a lot of weird things that happened on that album. And maybe we rushed a bit into doing it. And maybe that album, for me, when I sort of think about it, I just wish that we could have waited a couple more months. We should have onboarded Henrik for the drums, worked a bit more, then it would have been so much better album. And also, Death Is Not Dead was a kind of album where we basically didn't rehearse. You know, we sent files to each other and, you know, tried that modern approach to it, you know. And there are still a few songs on that album that we had never rehearsed. So it was a really strange way of doing albums. So that was what we realized with Cobra Speed Venom, that, okay, we are a bit old school in this manner. We do the best work when we rehearse. And also when we go into the studio, we don't go in one by one. We go in like a fucking gang and we spend time together in the studio and, you know, do the band thing. And that became so obvious that Cobra Speed Venom became so much better album. And that's what we continue with Royal Destroyer. We did it like a band and we spent, you know, a week in the studio all together. And it was also so well prepared with all the rehearsing that when we were in the studio, we recorded absolutely everything, including vocals, in 7 days. So that was a quite sort of world record for us. And then there was another period for the mixing, but for the recording, it was like 7 days. So it's very spontaneous, not about you know, perfecting and editing stuff. It was all about capturing performances, you know. If that take felt good, then we just move on to the next. You know, try to be a bit more spontaneous and not so fucking anal about, yeah, we need to sample this snare and replace it and put it perfect on the grid, and nothing like that. It's like real drums and real amps and real performances, and that's what I'm really proud of, because I can talk shitlongs about, you know, producing albums and stuff like that. That's basically my passion. But I mean, nowadays it's not difficult to make a perfect album in that sense that it's perfectly performed, because it's all about just dedicating a few hours to and just edit the drums and edit every guitar part. I mean, make it sound perfect, you know. But I think that kind of approach is so fucking boring. So I want to feel that there's an actual band playing there. So that's what we went with, you know. Henrik did 1-2 takes per song, you know, on the drums, and that was enough. Yeah, it's perfect, you know. Then we just move on to the next one. So I think there's a bit of that rough punk edge feel to it, but at the same time, the production is really sort of fat and heavy and, you know, good. I mean, obviously, Fredrik Nordström knows his shit, you know, after all the albums he's done. But I really like that approach, you know, trying to just capture how we sound instead of relying on a fucking computer and drum machine, you know.
Earth
So let's talk about Fredrik Nordstrom just for a little bit. You first worked with him on Death Race King, which was more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, he's very famous for a lot of the bands that he's worked with.
Yeah.
How do you describe your relationship with him as a producer? And how would you say that relationship has changed or grown since the first time you worked with him?
I would say it's pretty much the same. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, it felt really familiar when we went back in with Cobra Speed Venom and, did the album. Obviously has moved the studio a couple of times after that, but it's still located in Gothenburg, which is good for us. It's like a 50-minute drive, it's very close. And yeah, we have a good cooperation. And because, as you said, he has done so many good, big fucking productions and albums. And I really like that he still has a very open mind, because one would think that he would sort of tell the bands, well, this is how we make albums, and now you go in there, do that, But he's very open-minded, because we said when we had a sort of meeting before, we said that, yeah, we want to do this a bit more punk style. We don't want to fucking trigger drums and start to edit. We just want to go in and nail the takes and, make a fucking furious album. And he was like, yeah, right on, There wasn't even a discussion, So, yeah, good teamwork, I mean, obviously we trust a lot when it comes to sounds and production and that kind of style, because he has so much experience. But he lets us sort of do our thing, and that's just brilliant. And I always trust him, because I know that in the end, production-wise or sonically, it will sound good, And so, yeah, it's a good teamwork. I must say it's pretty much the same as like 20 years ago.
World Destroyer is coming out on Metal Blade, like Cobra Speed Venom before it. You guys are back on Metal Blade after a few albums on Century Media.
Yeah.
How did you end up back on Metal Blade?
We actually ended up there a bit of an old school way, because when we were done with the Century Media deal, we actually did a demo, because we really wanted to go back to Metal Blade, but we also wanted to go back there with them liking our new songs, instead of just they would have this business mind that, okay, let's bring the Crown back. We have their back catalog. Let's re-release them, stuff like that. So we really wanted them to like where we were going after Death Is Not Dead, because that album wasn't really one of our finest moments, So we went into Studio Fredman and recorded, 5 songs that became half of the Cobra Speed Venom. So we sent them to the US office and the European office, and we talked to them, and they said, oh, fucking shit, this is so much better. And, so based on that demo, yeah, we signed back with them,
Now, can you tell me a little bit about this Death Race 13 bonus disc? What's on the bonus disc?
Yeah, that's something I came up with, because obviously Metal Blade likes to release the albums on different formats, and there was this discussion about the digipack and a bonus disc, and I'm not so super keen on sort of live stuff. So I came up, it just hit me that, it was like right before Death Race King, me and Marcus, the guitar player, we went on a sound engineering course, spent 6 months, learning how to, make albums or record, and stuff like that. And most of the times we messed around in the studio, like I played drums and bass, and Marcus did the guitars, and we played lots of cover songs, like everything, like, Metallica, Mötley Crüe, Sepultura, all kinds of cover songs, just to sort of learn how to, the engineering thing and how microphones work. And during that course, also, I wrote a couple of Crown songs like Vengeance and Dead Man's Song, and I sort of played them in the studio when we were during that course, and then I called in Johan to add vocals. Sometimes the lyrics were all what we call sort of like a bullshit lyric, just to get something on tape so you can sort of understand how the rhythmics and how that works. And later on during that course, I called in Janne, come to the studio, bring your drums. And we recorded a few songs, so Rebel Angel, Death Explosion, I think I Won't Follow as well. So when we were doing the bonus disc, I said, let's use those fucking demo versions of Death Race King. And also it hit me like, we have a fucking complete pre-production of Possessed 13. So it's like, okay, let's release a Death Race 13. It's like 13 bonus tracks from Death Race and Possessed 13. So especially the Death Race stuff is really interesting, because, as I said, they're completely different lyrics. I'm doing the drums on Dead Man's Song and Vengeance, and I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. So those are really fun to hear. But I know there are a lot of people, they hate demo versions. I personally love to hear demo versions of music that I know of, if like today someone says, yeah, I have a demo version of Master of Puppets. I mean, I would fucking kill to hear it, so it's really interesting to see how they work, so if someone is interested in learning how we sort of work with demo versions and things that can happen later on, that's a really interesting disc for fans, Have you heard it?
No, not yet. I'm trying to track it down. Right now, I've only heard the stuff that's on the Bandcamp page.
Okay, all right.
Does the bonus disc just come with the special edition that Metal Blade is putting out?
Yeah, it does. And I know a lot of people from like the US has contacted me because, to be honest, I'm not completely sure. I know that they sell it through the Metal Blade, but I think it becomes a bit more expensive if you're in the US. I'm not sure if it's made for like European market or something like that. But you can order it, but it maybe costs like $10 extra or something if you order from the US, or I have no idea what it would cost to order from Malaysia. I really don't know. But and it's also a bit of a limited thing. I think they only did like, what was it, 3,000 or 5,000 or something like that of it. I'm sure it will sneak out on YouTube sooner or later,
So, as you mentioned, the Crown has been around since 1990. You guys have been around for 30 years, and you put out your 10th album. What would you say the legacy of the Crown is, and how would you want the Crown to be remembered?
I think in a sense, I would like people to remember us that it may sound a bit cheesy, but we were that band that did shit our own way. We were always the underdogs, and we always didn't really belong to the sort of norm in a way. I mean, as I said earlier, it was pretty difficult for people to say that we were like a Gothenburg band or Stockholm band. I think that hopefully people will remember us that we were a bit stubborn, but we at least always made quality albums.
You'd be surprised by the influence of the Crown. I don't know if you're aware of this band called Job for a Cowboy. They're an American band that were quite popular.
Yeah.
And so they're very big at one point. I mean, they're part of that whole deathcore movement. I actually saw Job for a Cowboy cover a Crown song.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
I can't remember which one it was right now, but
let me see. I think it was Total Satan, right?
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah, that's fucking really cool, because I remember someone sent me that link and I watched it, because I know that they also got signed to Metal Blade, I believe. And as you said, they were getting a bit big in that sort of metalcore thing. And yeah, that was fucking fun to see. And I also seen some other bands, do Crown songs, and that's honestly warms my heart, That's fucking beautiful. That's probably the best feedback you can get, that you inspire other people. That's fantastic.
So Royal Destroyer is out now through Metal Blade. Marko, what's the best way for people to order the album?
I would suggest to start with metalblade.com/The Crown. I think it will actually guide you to the correct page depending on what part of the world you're in. I think that's a good way to start. And also let me see, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, we launched our brand new website. That's a good way to start as well. thecrownofficial.com. We also started a completely new web shop as well there. Right at this point, it's more about merchandise, not CDs. But yeah, check the Metal Blade and thecrownofficial.com. That's a good start. And I'm sure you can get it somehow.
And if people want to follow the Crown and keep up to date with what you guys are doing, what's the best way to do that?
I would suggest, we're a bit old school. We're still stuck to the Facebook, There's no way we're going fucking TikTok or anything like that. So we're stuck at Facebook, and follow us on Facebook/The Crown Official. No, what the fuck is called? Let me see. Yeah, The Crown Band, The Crown Official. Oh, sorry, fuck.
I believe it's The Crown Official.
Yeah, I think it's The Crown Official on Facebook. That's the best thing. We try to really keep it alive, basically daily posts and be a bit personal. And I do a lot of guitar playthroughs and all kind of stuff and try to interact. And we have competitions and all kinds of silly stuff, but that's a lot of fun, So yeah, we're sticking to Facebook, man.
And I understand you also have your own Twitch stream.
Yeah, that's true. I started like last week, and that's fun. I mean, that's another platform. I know it's a lot for the sort of gaming gamers and stuff like that, but there's a few friends of mine said that you should fucking try the Twitch, you know. So I said, all right, let's do it. So I did a little album babble and guitar playthrough. I'm thinking of doing something tomorrow, and that is, let me see, twitch.tv/Marko Tervonen. So pretty simple. And yeah, I'm gonna use that as a sort of platform to talk about, you know, gear, music, all kinds of shit. And because I also mix and master music for other bands, I have a studio at home. So I was thinking of, you know, helping people to, you know, start their home studio and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to sort of develop that Twitch thing.
Do you want to say anything about your son's band? You mentioned your son has a band.
Yeah.
Like a brutal death thrash kind of band.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Thrash death band, very influenced by... At that point they did the album, it has that sort of rough, almost South American thrash feel to it. I know the guys love like Sarcophago and Old Sepultura and stuff like that. But it's a band called Sarcator, and they have a debut album out on Redefining Darkness Records, and also the album is out on all the you know, streaming platforms, everything that you can imagine, Spotify, Apple, whatever. So check it out. It's fucking good. Very young kids. I mean, youngest is 15, oldest is 19, but they fucking deliver like they've been doing this for 20 years. So check out Sarcator, man. Have you heard them?
Not yet. I've seen some reviews. It sounds like they're getting a lot of good reviews.
Yeah, you will be surprised. It's actually really, really fucking good. And I produced their album as well, so I have a pretty good insight in their skills. And I can tell you there's nothing sort of improved digitally. It's all about performances there as well. And they don't even play to a click track. So it's all about, you know, good old performances, and they are tight as fuck. So that's really good band.
So I'm going to let you go pretty soon, but I'm just curious your opinion on these young kids who are getting into this super old school death thrash kind of stuff. Because, you know, every time I go to a show, you know, there are kids who are dressed like it's 1985. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's I don't know. I actually thought about it. I mean, what the hell is that? Are their dads like old fucking metalheads, or where does that come from? You know, but it's absolutely fantastic, because with my son Matteo, that he actually found 3 other people basically in the same area that were into the same shit. I mean, we're talking Old Creator and, you know, that kind of stuff, or Sodom, and that's pretty basically impossible, you know. I mean, new kids when they are like 15 to 18 years old, they shouldn't listen to stuff like that, but they fucking do it, you know. And what I noticed, that there are usually like parents in the background. There are old metalheads that sort of spread the gospel forward, and the kids have sort of found the holy grail in that sense. So but that's fucking cool. I mean, yeah, it's I get a tear in my eye when I see stuff like that.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want to say?
I think we covered the most, man. Thank you very much. This was, definitely my first interview to Malaysia, I think, actually. So that's cool.
Excellent. Well, we'll have to do another one pretty soon.
Yeah.
As we mentioned a couple times, Death Race King is 20 years, a little bit over 20 years old at this point.
Yeah.
I have a section on my blog where I talk about albums that were important to me or very influential to me, and both Death Race King and Crown in Terror are on that list.
Ah, cool.
And so hopefully at some point we can talk about those 2 albums.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just stay in touch and let's fucking arrange it, you know.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Marko.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay. Have a good night. All right. Bye-bye.